350,000 fans on race day every May. In 1908, however, this land was made up of the fields of the Presley Farm. That was until Indiana entrepreneur Carl Fisher chose this land to construct a massive 2.5-mile racetrack where the fledgling American automobile industry could test their creations on track against one another. Fisher and his partners James Allison, Arthur Newby, and Frank Wheeler purchased this land for $72,000. Construction of this facility was completed in the late summer of 1909, but a new surface was required due to safety issues with the track's original fresh stone and tar surface. The solution was to pave this track with over 3.2 million bricks sourced from around the state of Indiana. The project took only 63 days to complete and was finished in the fall of 1909. As a result, the track earned a new nickname related to its new surface. Today, fans call the Indianapolis Motor Speedway the Brickyard. As attendance at the new track's events began to dwindle, Fisher and his partners opted for only one epic race every year. The Indianapolis 500 was conceived to take place every May around Memorial Day. Ray Haroon won the event's first running in 1911 at an average speed of 74.6 miles per hour. The day was a huge success, and the greatest spectacle in racing was born. We enter the track between turns 1 and 2 onto one of our short chutes. These two short straightaways are located at the north and south ends of the speedway and are each 1/8 of a mile in length. Contrary to its oval designation, the speedway is rectangular with 4 turns, each 1/4 of a mile in length from entrance to exit. The two main straightaways are 5/8 of a mile and located on the speedway's east and west sides. This all adds up to 2.5 miles total track length. You're likely to start feeling the effects of our banking as we enter turn 2. Each turn is banked 9 degrees in 12 minutes. Despite the shallow banking, Indy cars will carry speeds over 230 miles an hour through our turns. On the left, you will see some of our viewing mounts. These are throughout the track's infield and are used by general admission ticket holders. Up on your right are the Turn 2 suites installed in 1973. These suites offer VIP guests and sponsors a thrilling close-up vantage point. We are now approaching the backstretch. Except for the track's current asphalt surface, the speedway's dimensions and layout are the same as in 1909. And if you're curious about what happened to all those bricks, most are just a few feet beneath us, buried under layers of asphalt. If you look out both sides of our bus, you will also notice a golf course here. Constructed in 1929, the Brickyard Crossing Golf Course has seen many different iterations, culminating in a 1992 redesign by legendary golf course designer Pete Dye. The current layout has 4 holes inside the track and 14 outside the backstretch to your right. If Indy cars were on the backstretch with us right now, you would see them streaming by at over 243 miles per hour, or just over 390 kilometers per hour. At that speed, the Indy cars will cover the length of a football field in less than 9/10 of a second. These high speeds, coupled with the aerodynamics of the Indy cars, allow them to lap this 2.5-mile track in less than 39 seconds, with modern average lap speeds peaking at over 235 miles per hour. In its over a century of existence, the Speedway has hosted various racing events. The first ever race held here was a gas-filled balloon race before the track was even finished. Since then, Formula One, NASCAR, MotoGP motorcycles, and IMSA sports cars have all held events here. In 1910, the track was used for Indiana's first ever air show, with the Wright brothers setting a new world altitude record of 4,384 feet. In 2016, the Red Bull Air Race competed at the Speedway, flying between inflatable pylons set up in the infield. The newest major addition to our facility is on your left, a quarter-mile dirt track. It was built for USAC's BC39 midget car race, named in honor of late IndyCar driver and USAC champion Brian Clausen. It is now a premier USAC event with over 100 entrants in its inaugural year. As we travel through Turn 3, you will notice the safer barrier along the walls on for steel and foam energy reduction. In a joint program with IMS and researchers at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, the new barriers were installed in 2002. The safer barrier has been responsible for saving many drivers from severe injury and is now found at many major racing facilities worldwide. World War I flying ace and Medal of Honor winner Eddie Rickenbacker purchased the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1927. He had a personal connection with the track as he had competed here as a racing driver before he went overseas. His skillful management guided the track throughout the Great Depression with no halt in racing. If you look out the left side of the bus, portions of the Speedway's road course will come into sight. Though original racetrack renderings for the Speedway included an interior road course, it would take until the turn of the 21st century for it to be finally installed. The road course was initially constructed for Formula One racing and now measures 2.439 miles in length with 14 turns. No events were held at the Speedway from 1917 to 1918 and 1942 to 1945 due to the First and Second World Wars. As opposed to World War I, where the track was used as an aviation repair and refueling depot, the track was closed entirely during World War II, and by 1945, the dilapidated facility was slated to be sold to make way for a housing development. That was until, at the urging of three-time Indy 500 winner Wilbur Shaw, Indiana businessman Tony Holman stepped in at the last minute and purchased the track for $750,000. Under Holman George's leadership, the Speedway prospered and became the worldwide icon known today. In January 2020, Indy 500 winning team owner and entrepreneur Roger Penske purchased the Speedway in NTT IndyCar Series. We are now approaching the front straight. On race day, this is the view the IndyCar drivers will have as they come down to the green flag at the start of the race. The Indianapolis 500 begins with what is known as a rolling start, with all 33 cars accelerating in their traditional 11 rows of 3 cars each toward the start-finish line. By the time they cross the famed Yard of Bricks, the field will already be well over 200 miles per hour, making the start of the Indianapolis 500 amongst the fastest in the world. You will notice a wall separating the racing surface from the pit lane. Originally, this was constructed in 1957 and may have been the first of its kind anywhere in the world. It offers a safe place for cars to receive service while separated from the high-speed action on track. In the traditional 11 rows of 3 cars each toward the start-finish line. By the time they cross the famed Yard of Bricks, the field will already be well over 200 miles per hour, making the start of the Indianapolis 500 amongst the fastest in the world. You will notice a wall separating the racing surface from the pit lane. Originally, this was constructed in 1957 and may have been the first of its kind anywhere in the world. It offers a safe place for cars to receive service while separated from the high-speed action on track. In the early days of the 500, pit stops could last several minutes, often with a relief driver taking over for the exhaust. Today, IndyCar crews can change 4 tires and fuel a car in less than 8 seconds. On the left is Victory Podium, and adjacent to it is the Pagoda. This iconic structure has 10 floors and is equivalent in height to a 13-story building. It is the home of timing and scoring, master control, media broadcast, and private suites. There has been a building like this at this location since 1913. Running underneath the pagoda and onto the racing surface is a link to the past, the Yard of Bricks. Every brick you see dates to the original surface in 1909. The front straight was still predominantly brick until October of 1961, when they were paved over with the exception of a 3-foot narrow strip.
Alonso Jr. has the lead. One more turn to go. Here they come. Coming to the finish line. Bob Jenkins, who's going to win it? The checkered flag is out. Goodyear makes a move. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second. Perhaps the closest finish in the history of the Indianapolis 500.
Bob Jenkins called it right. It was the closest finish in Indy 500 history, as Al Unser Jr. held up a charging Scott Goodyear by 43 one-thousandths of a second at the finish of the 1992 race. In other words, winning and losing were less than the blink of a human eye. A unique victory tradition involving the bricks has developed. After winning the third running in 1996 of NASCAR's Brickyard 400, Dale Jarrett and his crew made their way to the yard of bricks, knelt, and kissed the bricks to celebrate their victory. This tradition is now performed by winners of all major events at the Speedway. Ahead is our third generation.
Last year was 180 races. So the only race, the only time you've ever